All right, let's talk about vulnerability management. Now I know, it sounds super technical, maybe even a little dry, but it's actually one of the most important proactive things you can do in all of cybersecurity. Think of it like this. It's all about building a digital shield before the arrows even start flying.
So, here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll get into the big problem, what I like to call the sinking ship problem. Then, we'll walk through the 5 key steps, the life cycle of protection. From there, we'll get into the really smart part, how to prioritize what actually matters most. We'll also cover how to verify the fixes, to make sure they actually worked. And we'll wrap it all up with the ultimate payoff of taking this proactive approach.
So, let's get right to it. What's the core problem we're trying to solve here? Here's the deal. Every single company, every organization out there, their digital setup has holes. It just does. These vulnerabilities are everywhere. And if your plan is to just sit back and wait for a hacker to find one, well, that's a bet you're going to lose almost every time. It's a recipe for disaster.
And this analogy just hits the nail on the head. I mean, it's so true, right? You would never wait for your ship to be halfway to the bottom of the ocean before you start looking for leaks. That'd be insane. In our digital world, that's exactly what vulnerability management is. It's about finding and patching those holes before you start taking on water.
That really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do you systematically find and fix these weaknesses before they turn into some catastrophic security breach? Well, the answer isn't a magic bullet. It's a process, a continuous, structured process.
Okay, so how do we actually build this proactive shield? The key thing to remember is this isn't a one-and-done kind of project. You don't just do it once and you're good to go. No, vulnerability management is a continuous life cycle. It's a constant loop of protection that's always running and always adapting to whatever new threats pop up.
And that whole process, it really boils down to these 5 core steps. You identify your assets, you scan them for weaknesses, you prioritize which ones to fix first, you remediate the problem, and then you verify that the fix actually worked. And then, the cycle starts all over again. Because in the world of tech, nothing ever stays the same for long.
And really, it all kicks off right here. It's a classic saying in security for a reason. You simply cannot protect what you don't know you have. So this first step is all about making a huge inventory of everything, and I mean everything connected to your network. We're talking servers, laptops, cloud services, all those little IoT gadgets, you name it. If you miss something, it becomes a blind spot. And blind spots are where attackers absolutely love to hang out.
All right, so once you have your big list of assets, you use automated tools to start looking for weaknesses. These tools basically compare your systems against these massive public databases of known problems, like the CVE list, which stands for Common Vulnerabilities and Exposures. You can run these scans a couple of ways, either with credentials, which gives you a super deep inside-out view, or without them to see exactly what an outside attacker would see. Both are super important.
Now this brings up a really key distinction, remediation versus mitigation. Remediation is the dream scenario, right? That's the real fix. You apply a patch or change a setting and poof, the vulnerability's just gone. But let's be realistic. Sometimes a full fix just isn't possible, especially with older systems. That's where mitigation comes in. Think of it as a workaround. You reduce the risk by adding other controls, like firewall rules or limiting access, even if the underlying flaw is still technically there.
And this is the step that brings us full circle, that closes the loop. After you apply a fix, you can't just cross your fingers and hope for the best. You have to check your work. You rescan the asset to verify that the vulnerability is truly gone or that the risk is down to an acceptable level. This confirmation is absolutely crucial. It's what turns a simple to-do list into a reliable, continuous life cycle.
Okay, here's where things get really interesting. Because let's be honest, these vulnerability scanners can find thousands of issues. If you try to fix everything at once, you'll just drown in the work. It's impossible. The real art and science of vulnerability management is in prioritization. It's not about fixing everything. It's about fixing the right things first.
So how do you decide? Well, you look at a few key actors. There's the technical severity, or CVSS score, but a high score isn't the whole story. You have to ask about the real-world context. Is there an active exploit for this flaw out in the wild? And what's the business impact? A vulnerability on a critical, customer-facing server is a much bigger deal than one on an isolated printer in a back office.
And this example makes it super clear. Take Heartbleed. It had a crazy high CVSS score, a 9.8. Exploits for it were everywhere online, and it affected critical web servers. High business impact. That's a 5-alarm fire. A drop everything and fix this now situation. On the other hand, look at the outdated printer firmware. The score is moderate, there's no known public exploit, and the business impact is low. That's not an emergency. That's something you schedule for a regular maintenance window. It's all about focusing your resources where the risk is greatest.
So we've got this ongoing process of finding and fixing things. But how does an organization know if the process itself is working effectively? This is where we need to understand the difference between two key ideas: assessments and audits.
A vulnerability assessment is the technical part we've been discussing. It's the act of running scans and analyzing the results to find and measure the holes in your systems. Think of it as a technical checkup that produces a list of specific issues to address. It's a snapshot in time of your security posture.
A security audit, on the other hand, takes a big step back. It isn't looking for the vulnerabilities themselves, it's examining your process for handling them. An audit asks, are you following your own policies? Are you meeting compliance standards? Is your program effective? It's checking the health plan, not just the patient.
So to put it all together, vulnerability management is the continuous action of finding and fixing. An assessment is the specific activity of discovering and measuring those weaknesses at a point in time. And the audit is the formal check to prove you're doing all of this correctly, effectively, and according to the rules. Now, when you put all of these pieces together, the life cycle, the smart prioritization, the accountability from audits, something fundamental really changes in an organization's security posture.
It shifts you from a state of constant reaction, of cleaning up after attackers find your weaknesses, to a state of proactive defense. You're no longer just patching what was attacked yesterday, you're systematically reducing the number of targets available for tomorrow's attack. This frees up your teams to focus on future threats instead of past mistakes.
And this really is the key takeaway. No defense is perfect, and you can't stop a determined attacker from trying. But with a mature vulnerability management program, you can systematically find and lock the thousands of open doors and windows on your network, making their job dramatically harder.
So it really leaves us with one final thought. Right now, attackers are constantly automatically scanning for vulnerabilities, for those open doors into your network. The only real question is, are you looking for them first?